We stand at the heart of the neotropics, the Amazon, the Cerrado, a world we call the lungs of the planet. It is a green ocean, a vertical battlefield where giants, the colossal trees, wage a silent, centuries-long war for the most precious of all commodities, sunlight. Every leaf is a solar panel, a trophy in this photosynthetic arms race. The air is thick, humid, alive with the sounds of insects and birds. It is a world of staggering complexity, a map of life we believe we understand. We see the jaguar, the tapir, the macaw. We see the great rivers carving the land. We believe these are the forces that shape this world. But this is an illusion, because beneath the canopy another force is at work. A procession, a living, moving ribbon of green. It flows over fallen logs, across the forest floor, and disappears into the darkness of the earth. We see them, Atta cephalotes, the leafcutter ant. We see them as they have always been seen, as pests, as simple, mindless insects, a biological machine driven by instinct, cutting fragments of leaves and carrying them away. We see this as foraging. We see it as consumption. But what if we told you that this is not consumption? What if this relentless marching army is not eating these leaves at all? What if we told you this is a harvest? That this tiny creature, weighing barely a gram, is not a simple forager, but a farmer? What if we told you that this procession is not just a trail, but a highway leading to an empire that practices agriculture on a scale so vast it dwarfs our own endeavors, an empire that invented farming not 6,000 or 10,000, but 50 million years before the first human ancestor ever thought to plant a seed? What if we told you that this ant is not just living in the ecosystem, but is actively engineering it? That this single species is a geological force, a climate regulator, and a master architect that has terraformed the entire South American continent, one leaf fragment at a time. The world we see, the forest itself, is a garden, and these are the gardeners. To understand their power, we must follow the leaf. The trail leads us to a hole in the ground. It seems modest, a simple entrance. But this is not a nest. It is a capital city. This is the gateway to a subterranean metropolis that can stretch the area of a tennis court and plunge 30 feet into the earth. It is a city that, at its peak, will house over 8 million individuals. It is a structure so vast and complex that it involves a workforce excavating over 40 tons of soil in its lifetime. That is the equivalent of a human team building a skyscraper with their bare hands. We move deeper into the earth. The air changes. It is humid, warm. The ants have engineered this climate. They build sophisticated ventilation shafts, chimneys that draw cool air in and expel hot carbon dioxide-rich air out. They are master climatologists, maintaining the precise temperature and humidity required for their society's singular purpose. And then we see it. The chambers, not storage rooms, but farms. Vast, cathedral-like caverns filled with a strange, white, pulsating mass. It looks alien. It is the ant's great secret. This is Leucoagaricus gonguliforus, a fungus. This is the only thing the colony eats. The leaves we saw being carried. They are not food. They are substrate. They are the fertilizer for this subterranean crop. Specialized workers, smaller than the foragers, take the leaf fragments. They chew them into a damp pulp. They add their own saliva and fecal droplets, inoculating this paste with enzymes. They meticulously plant this mulch onto the living body of the fungus. Then, an even smaller caste of ants, the minims, moves in. They are the master gardeners. They patrol the fungal beds, pruning the hyphae, stimulating the fungus to produce specialized, nutrient-rich swellings called gongylidea. This is their fruit. It is a food source that exists nowhere else on planet Earth, a domesticator specialized as our corn or wheat. This is a contract, sealed in the mists of time. 50 million years ago, an ancestral ant began cultivating a wild fungus. Today, they are locked in an unbreakable symbiosis. The ants cannot survive without the fungus, and the fungus, in its domesticated form, has lost the ability to reproduce on its own. It exists only within the climate-controlled vaults of the ant empire. A new queen, when she leaves to found her own colony, does not carry food. She carries a tiny clipping of the mother fungus in a special pouch in her mouth. She is carrying the seed of her civilization. This agricultural operation is staggering in its efficiency. Ecologists have calculated that a single mature atta colony consumes more green biomass than a full-grown cow. They are the single most dominant herbivores in the neotropics. They consume more vegetation than all the monkeys, sloths, tapirs, and other mammals combined. This is where the first domino falls. This is the immediate reaction. The colony is a machine, and this machine has an appetite. Above ground, the foragers are not random. They are selective. They are shopping for the best possible substrate for their fungus. They can, and often do, strip an entire mature tree of its leaves in a single night. From our perspective, this is destruction. It is a brutal, relentless assault. A wound opens in the forest canopy. Where there was a ceiling of green, there is now sky. Sunlight, the great engine of life, for the first time in perhaps a century, strikes the forest floor. The dark, damp world of decay is suddenly illuminated, and this light is a trigger. It is a biological starting gun. Seeds that have lain dormant in the soil for decades, waiting for this exact moment, now explode. A new generation of pioneer plants, species that crave the light, begins a frantic race upwards. The entire composition of the forest in this specific location is altered. The ants, through their selective logging, are acting as the forest's primary editors. They are choosing which trees stay and which ones go. They are, in effect, driving the chemical evolution of the plant kingdom. Trees that produce toxins the ants dislike are allowed to thrive. Trees the ants prefer are constantly pruned. This is not destruction. This is gardening on a continental scale. As the ecologists Dr. Geraldo Vasconcelos and Dr. Alan Kovich have pointed out, the leafcutter ant is not just a participant in the ecosystem, it is a fundamental driver of its diversity. By creating these light gaps, the ants create a mosaic of different habitats. They create neighborhoods within the forest. These new, sun-drenched patches of pioneer plants become cafeterias for other animals. Monkeys, birds, and insects, which had no reason to be in that dark patch of forest before, now flock to this new hotspot of tender leaves and fruits. The ants, in feeding their fungus, have inadvertently created a feast for the entire ecosystem. But the engineering does not stop there. Back underground, this industrial-scale farm has an industrial-scale waste problem. The fungus is meticulously cleaned. Any contaminated substrate, any dead ants, any foreign spores, all of it is waste. But in nature, waste is just a resource in the wrong place. The ants are master sanitation engineers. Specialized workers, the undertakers, carry this refuse to dedicated dump chambers, usually at the lowest levels of the metropolis. These dumps are composting reactors. They are chemical bombs of concentrated nutrients. As this organic matter decays, it becomes an impossibly rich concentration of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The ants carefully wall off these chambers to protect their gardens from pathogens. But these nutrients do not vanish. They begin to leach into the surrounding soil. The ants are, quite literally, injecting fertilizer deep into the earth. This is the immediate cascade. An act of agriculture creates an act of logging. The logging creates a new microhabitat. The farming process creates a concentrated superfertilizer. One single superorganism is now manipulating the light, the vegetation, and the chemical composition of the soil, all at the same time. Now we must step back. We must let the clock run forward. Not days or years, but centuries. We return to the same patch of forest, 500 years later. The great Atta colony is gone. The queen, a biological marvel who laid millions of eggs, has reached the end of her 20-year life. The city, without her, has slowly died. The tunnels have collapsed. The gardens have failed. It is a ghost town. But it has left a legacy. The landscape here is different. Where the colony once stood, the soil itself has been permanently altered. The 40 tons of earth they excavated, bringing deep clay and minerals to the surface. The centuries of concentrated fertilizer leaching from the dumps. They have created an island of profound fertility. This is the new reality. The forest that grew back here is taller, stronger, and fundamentally different from the forest just 100 meters away. The ants, in their life and in their death, have created a resource island, and this is where the irony of ecology becomes so profound. Humans, the new engineers, enter this landscape. For millennia, indigenous peoples have known where to find the best soil. They search for Terra Preta de Indio, the famous Amazonian dark earths created by ancient human settlements. But they also find these patches, the ghost of the ant empire. The soil is rich, dark, and perfect for agriculture. The earliest human farmers, in a twist that connects us directly to these insects, built their own civilizations. On the composted ruins of the ants' civilization, they planted their own crops in the fertile graveyard of the planet's first and most successful farmers. This is not a localized effect. This has been happening for 50 million years across an entire continent. The sheer scale of this soil mixing, this bioturbation, is geological. The leafcutter ant is a plow, a living, breathing machine that has churned and refertilized the neotropics for eons. They have actively fought soil erosion, pulling nutrients from the deep earth and anchoring them in the biomass of their fungal gardens. Now, imagine a world without them. A world, perhaps, where a climate event or a disease wiped them out. What would that world look like? The contrast is stark. Without the ant plow, the soils of the Amazon would be poorer, more compacted. Without their selective logging, the canopy would be a uniform, unbroken ceiling. The forest floor would be dark, static. The mosaic of habitats would vanish. The hotspots of biodiversity would cool. The rainforest, as we know it, would not exist. It would be a simpler, less dynamic, and profoundly less fertile place. The ant did not just adapt to the rainforest was forced to adapt to the ant. We are left with a simple truth: a single ant, a simple insect, an obsession with harvesting, a 50-million-year-old agricultural contract, and a continent resculpted from the soil up. This forces us to ask a fundamental question. We define intelligence and civilization by our ability to manipulate our environment. We build cities, we practice agriculture, we create complex social structures. The leafcutter ant does all three. Their city is an architectural marvel of climate control. Their agriculture is a model of symbiotic efficiency that has lasted 50 times longer than our own. Their society is a superorganism, a collection of specialized castes, all working for a single common good. Is their instinct, honed by millions of years of natural selection, so different from our consciousness? Or are we simply mistaking the time frame? We look at the world, and we see ourselves as the only true engineers. We believe we are the only force capable of profound planetary change, but this is the illusion of human supremacy. The story of the Earth was not written by us. It was written by its inhabitants. It was carved by the beaver's dam, grown by the coral's reef, and plowed by the farmer ant. We walk upon a world built by forces we are too large and too recent to see. We build our homes on the foundations of empires we do not recognize. The true history of the planet is not just geology. It is biology. And we are just the most recent engineers to arrive on the scene, holding our fragile blueprints, standing in the shadow of the masters. But this is just one of millions of engineering stories happening beneath our feet. What other ecosystem engineer do you believe has shaped our world? Leave your theory in the comments. If you enjoy discovering the hidden forces that truly control the planet, subscribe to Ecosystem Engineers and activate the bell. Because nature is never still.